Hello. Nice to be with you today. Last month, I did video with a great guy named Vicente. He talks about Stoicism, so I want to talk about it. A woman told him what she thought about MGTOW men and the idea that men who are afraid aren't MGTOW men. So, you're not MGTOW if you're afraid. That's because you're responding instead of being. MGTOW is a way of being and not a way of going away. Of course, some of it is a reaction to what we already know about the world, but if it's just out of fear and running away, then I don't know what it is. Scars that haven't healed yet, maybe. The woman told him about a quote by C.S. Lewis about why men like to be single. It's partly true, but it's also like a lot of shameful things I've heard. You're afraid. You are selfish because you don't want to lose what you have. You put yourself out there, but it didn't work out. You have to start over. This is what was written in the email I got. I don't think much of a quote that a Christian woman brought up when we were talking about how I like to be single. She read a quote from C.S. Lewis that seems to miss the point. See attachment. I'm going to make a podcast episode about this subject, but you might want to try it out first. Women want to make us seem scared, unwilling to take risks, and empty on the inside, but they don't have a single good thing to say about relationships. I asked her what was in it for me, or what I would get out of it, and she said I was being selfish. Yes, I'll watch out for myself, which is a good thing. Ideally, both parties will get something out of the deal. What does she bring to the table, since I'm giving up so much of myself? Lewis seems to think that we're missing out on a lot if we don't go all in on romantic love, even if it means giving up our hobbies. No, I'll find happiness in other parts of my life and realize that relationships can keep me from being happy. I don't have to get stuck in something like marriage. Instead, I can help society and myself, and I won't be dark, still, and without air. Why not try to be unbreakable and build that inner citadel that Stoics want? Great answer. Both MGTOW and Stoicism are very similar. Next, I'll talk about the quote I got, which was attributed to C.S. Lewis. It takes courage to love it all. If you love something, it will hurt and maybe even break your heart. If you want it to stay whole, you can't give it to anyone, not even an animal. Wrap it carefully around with hobbies and small luxuries. Don't get caught up in anything. Put it in the coffin of your selfishness to keep it safe. But in that coffin, where it is safe, dark, still, and has no air, it will change. It won't be broken, it will become impossible to break, impossible to get through, and impossible to fix. To love is to be vulnerable. The Four Loves, by C.S. Lewis. How does it feel to have nothing inside? I think that too many things that make life worth living are tied to being in a relationship. People often think you are alive if you are in a relationship or doing something to get into or keep one. For a lot of people, that's the biggest rush they get in life, so they have to keep that fire going. It's hard work to keep that fire going, but it's what keeps a lot of people going. So, if you can't understand that a lot of people only get their fire and drive from the outside world, you'll see empty on the inside. People often think you don't have a spirit if you don't believe in true love. This is one of the first things people say. Realize that as you start living the MGTOW life and it starts to sink in, you will become more stoic. It's one of the ways my life has slowly changed. More and more things around you have less and less of an effect on you. That is a good outcome. It has nothing to do with shutting yourself down. It's more about realizing that most of the things you're supposed to do or care about aren't worth it and drain your life. Because of this, MGTOW has ties to faith, religion, and Christianity, as we can see here with C.S. Lewis. It's why it's linked to existentialism, Buddhism, and minimalism. All of these things tie it together. In both Christianity and Buddhism, there is a move away from the material world. The only way to get away from that is to stop wanting things and accept that life has two sides and that everything we want will eventually die. If you accept the end, you might never start the journey in the first place. That's what MGTOW means. That gives you peace and strength because you know that no matter what you put your time and money into in life, it could be destroyed or it could pay off. A lot of that is out of your control. The only thing you can control is how you spend your time. You don't have any say over how these things will end or where they will lead. Then, what does C.S. Lewis mean? Is he saying that it's better to be weak than strong? Many people would say that, and they would agree with it. They would say that it was better to have loved than to have never loved at all. Sure, if that's the way you want to go that way. The shaming always comes back to that one word that Lewis uses, selfishness. Some people turn into diamonds when they are put under pressure. It's not common. We are living that way, as monks. It has to do with making that diamond. Some people give into it and can't keep the fire going. But if you bet on this, you either bet everything or nothing. At least, that's how I see the life of an MGTOW. If you keep dipping your toe in the water, you'll never be sure of what you believe, and what you say won't have the conviction it needs to have when you go to sleep at night. Be unbreakable, but being unbreakable doesn't mean soulless. A lot of men are getting their souls back because of MGTOW, and they won't go down this bitter, dark, and hateful hole. It's a hole in terms of depth and passion.